His MVP. Goes from right field. Forget about it. Rangers strike first. Goes after the first one. Drills a high fly ball. Left center field. This game is tied. From Javier. Seager hits a high fly ball. Deep right field. A bomb into first. One swing. Drive. It's tied. Seager smashes the ball down line. Goodbye. Now Seager to right center field, way back there. Gone again. Sonny Seager does it again. It's Texas Rangers win the World Series. The Willie Mays Most Valuable Player Trophy presented by Chevrolet. Is there any doubt? Corey Seager.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you on a Wednesday. Off-season talk. Let's get it, man. We have got a big show for you guys today. A lot to talk about. We're going to go through the latest and greatest in Rangers Nation, what's going on with the Texas Rangers as they are amidst their off-season and their off-season plans. We're also going to do a little recap, little review, little reaction to MLB playoffs, ALDS and NLDS, respectively, going on, those series. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit more interesting. You saw the Yankees with an epic comeback. Like, at this point, with the Rangers out, I'm just a fan of more baseball. I don't want to see sweeps. I want to see more and more baseball, more and more high-drama baseball. It really doesn't matter who it is. Just give me more baseball. And I'm slowly getting past the Rangers' abysmal finish to the 2025 season, starting to get excited about the direction that the franchise is going. Skip Schumaker, I think, gives a lot of reason to be positive for 2026. We talked about that last week. We're going to continue to talk coaches and coaching staff, and we're going to take a lot of comments and questions today. That's a lot of our off-season show. We always come prepared with a few key topics to present to you guys, but then we let you all do the rest, and we appreciate your support so much of the show. You guys really help keep it fresh, and it means a lot. The comments, the likes, the shares that you guys do with our videos, greatly, greatly appreciated. It's good to be with you guys. Let's keep on going. Caden, what's good, man? Hey, look, the Mariners series, it's getting interesting. Look, both teams in the ALDS had a significant lead. I know that the Jays blew a bigger lead than the Mariners did, but both the Jays and the Mariners could taste the ALCS, and it just didn't happen, man. Tough night. Real tough night. Appreciate all you guys hanging out. Hey, let's start here. First of all, probably the biggest news of the week, I would say. You got a lot of rumors and things flying around, but after Skip Schumaker officially named Rangers manager, you're seeing a couple of dominoes start to fall with the coaching staff. And they decided, the Rangers did, not to retain longtime catching coach Bobby Wilson. He announced his departure via an Instagram post. Just said, my time with the organization has ended. Expressed some gratefulness to different people that were impactful to him during his time in Texas. 42 years old. I'd imagine Bobby Wilson is probably going to catch on somewhere else. And I think that a lot of people really love him, wish him all the best. Definitely, that's my perspective here too. I think Bobby Wilson's good people. And let's just start there. I did tweet out something in the immediate aftermath of this news that I do want to revisit with Bobby Wilson. You have Bobby Wilson, 2023, helping Jonah Heim to earn his first and his only Gold Glove. And 2023 was a special year for a lot of other reasons. But in 2023, Jonah Heim earns his first Gold Glove with the Rangers. He was the All-Star Game starter. Of course, he won a World Series that year. It was a special year for Jonah Heim. He led all catchers in RBI. Probably Jonah Heim's best year, and probably is going to be his best year. I don't see him topping what he did in 2023. I think we have to be grateful to Bobby Wilson for what he did in helping Jonah Heim achieve that level. I think you cannot take that away from Bobby Wilson. And so I think you sing the praises there 100%. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room. The Rangers catchers were terrible the last 2 years defensively. They had among the lowest pop time percentiles in baseball. We're talking both Kyle Higashioka and Jonah Heim. Bottom 5 percentile in pop time. Bottom 10 percentile in blocks above average. Not to mention just an absolute lack of control over the base running game. And the Rangers were one of the worst teams allowing stolen bases in Major League Baseball. I don't think you can ignore that. I don't think that you can just brush that under the rug. I think that a change was needed. I think it's one thing to acknowledge Bobby Wilson's a great guy. Bobby Wilson has had success as a catching instructor. And I'm not saying that it's all Bobby Wilson's fault that Jonah Heim and Kyle Higashioka were absolutely terrible. They were not good behind the dish. Framing, I'll give you, but we've talked about this. Framing is not going to be as hot of a commodity next year with ABS. It's still going to be valuable, but with the ability to challenge those borderline pitches, framing is going to lose value naturally, and that's something both Jonah and Higgy did well. A lot of other things, though, they did not. And I do think a new voice is probably needed at that position from a coaching perspective. I don't think that's a big knock on Bobby Wilson. I know some people are going to take it that way, but I don't know how you can deny the Rangers needed a change at this spot. And I'm not saying that Chris Young and I'm not saying that Skip Schumaker dismissed Bobby Wilson because of this, but I think it's a little odd to just sweep it under the rug like it's nothing, just to ignore it. And kind of say something vague like, well, this is what happens when there's a new manager, right? But can we not ignore the fact that we had two of the worst defensive catching performances in baseball in 2025? I don't think that is a hot take, and I don't think that is a rude thing or an incorrect thing to say out loud. And so I hope that the Rangers, with whatever direction they go with the catching coach, with the catching instructor, I hope that they're able to find a guy that can help improve this area in major ways. Texas defense as a whole was the best in baseball this year, and it felt like the catcher spot was kind of the one area that was lacking from a defensive standpoint. I would really love to see the Rangers go out and get a starting catcher, a bona fide offensive and defensive catcher, a guy that can do both, whether it's via the trade, whether it's in free agency. I think the Rangers have done the offensive catcher. They've gone the defensive catcher route. They really haven't had a guy, unless you want to count Jonah Heim in 23, that consistently has been both of those things. I don't know the Rangers are going to go get JT Realmuto. I'd love to see it happen. But with the news that the Rangers most likely are going to be cutting payroll a little bit, I find it hard to believe they're going to shell out big bucks for JT. JT Realmuto, one of the best defensive catchers in the league, by the way, and can also swing a pretty good bat. I would like to see them go after him, but I have a feeling they're probably going to need to address the catcher spot in other ways. We'll see what happens. I got a couple other things. That was kind of my lead in today. I know the Bobby Wilson news, probably after the Skip Schumaker news, the biggest real deal. I know there's a lot of rumors out there. We're going to talk about some interesting rumors that I've seen online. And I'm ready to talk those through with you guys and see what you think. I don't know how clued in you are, but I saw a couple of trade rumors online that we got to drop later on in the show. But first, I'll say what's up to all you guys. Michael Craig, what's good, man? Hey, thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it, Tally Keepers. Thank you so much. Would love to be a competitor again, 2010 to 2016. UT Nation, good to see you, man. Man, I hope our boys get back on track on Saturday. Big game, Red River coming up on Saturday. I'm excited for that one. We're going to be live after that game is over, talking about it. Rain or shine, win or loss, we'll be here. But I sure hope that the Rangers can find that competitive edge too. Hey, if I missed something when I was doing the monologue, repost it. Hey, Stan Lou, what's up, bro? Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, repost the comments if I missed something. Y'all know I'm not ducking anything, but sometimes we miss it, right? Sometimes we'll miss a comment here and there. Go Phils, man. Look, I said it at the beginning of the show. I'm a fan of more baseball. I know that we have our teams that we like to see get knocked out, and I know the Yankees are one of them. I know there's probably a couple other teams you wouldn't mind seeing go home to the couch in October. I'm a fan of more baseball. Give me game 5s in the DS. Give me game 7s in the NLCS and the World Series. I just want to see as much baseball as possible at this point. As much baseball as possible. That's what I'm going for. So honestly, it was a weird feeling, but last night, Judge tying up the game with that monstrous home run off the foul pole, I'm here for it. I did not want to see the Yankees get swept. I know some of y'all probably are like, dude, are you kidding me? You're freaking nuts. All of us want to see the Yankees get swept. Hear me out. I just want to see interesting baseball. Like, you know what? The Yankees, I don't really want to see them get to number 29? I mean, I'd love for the Yankees to get knocked out, but in a game 7 or in a game 5. I'd love to see it happen. Dodgers, same thing. Garrett, I'm sorry. I mean, look, either way, if the Dodgers advance, they advance. But I'd love to see a game 5, Phillies-Dodgers. I know if you're a fan of the team, that's the exact opposite of what you want to see. But that's what I'm pulling for at this point. That is what I'm pulling for. Whew. Hope Kentucky can beat Texas next week. Oh, like in a week and a half? We got Kentucky next. That's I'm trying to remember the schedule. That's right. We do have Kentucky coming up on the schedule. It'll be interesting for the Horns. It will be interesting. Garrett, boo. Go Cowboys, baby. Cowboys, look, are, I think, surprising some people. I think we're starting to get there. Some people, eyes being opened a little bit. It's a pretty good offense. Pretty good team. Look, we've got a separate show for Cowboys on Sunday as well. We'll try and keep our show tonight Rangers focused a little bit, but y'all know how I roll. We'll definitely do a couple of sides, I'm sure, at certain points like I've already done with the Longhorns and the Cowboys alike. Appreciate all y'all hanging out. Hey, let's talk more. And by the way, keep dropping the comments. I appreciate all you guys. Non-biased opinion on A&M football. Well, look, you know, first of all, I'm a Longhorns fan. A&M, not my most favorite football team. I'll be nice. But I think you can't ignore what A&M's done so far. You've seen them take care of business against good, quality opponents. I think anything can happen in a college football season, especially when you're playing in the SEC. And I know that maybe some of the shine from the SEC is wearing off a little bit with the Big Ten getting bigger and bigger and getting stronger with teams like Oregon and Ohio State really dominating college football. But I think A&M, for what's been in front of them on the schedule, they look to be a pretty solid team. And Marcel Reed, I'll tell you what, I can only speak from my own perspective, having coached football for many years. I love a mobile quarterback. Absolutely love a guy like Marcel Reed that can move around. The decision-making feels like with Marcel Reed has gotten a little bit better this year too. It's good stuff. I think the Aggies, they could do something special this year. The thing is, it's any given Saturday, right? It's so hard to predict sometimes how teams are going to do. You think they've got it in the bank, you think it's money in the bank, and somebody gets upset. It happens every single Saturday, it feels like. So, look, respect for A&M. Don't like them, but you got to respect what they're doing so far. All right, let's get back to baseball. And again, keep dropping the comments. We'll be happy to continue to read them off. We will see, by the way, with the coaching staff. Some of you guys were asking about the Rangers coaching staff. I do think that there's going to be a lot of the coaching staff that's retained. I don't understand, though, how you can run it back with a lot of the hitting coaches. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think, some of the fielding coaches, some of the defensive coaches, some of the pitching coaches, Mike Maddox especially, I think you've got to bring those guys back. You had the best defense in baseball, and you had the best pitching staff in baseball. Statistically speaking, there's no lie spoken with what I just said. The Rangers were the best pitching staff collectively in baseball, and they had the best defense. And it was a record-setting defense at that. The Rangers are an elite company with what they accomplished defensively this year. It is wild that a team like that did not make the playoffs. And look, the Rangers, they should have made the playoffs. They had a good enough team to do it on paper coming into the season. They should be playing right now. And there's a number of reasons why they're not, that we've gotten into so many times over all the shows we've done all season long. The situational hitting, the lack of putting the ball in play, taking lots of strikes, striking out often, not being able to play the small ball game, not being able to manufacture runs, and the list goes on and on and on. The Rangers should be playing October baseball with the pitching staff that they had and the defense that they had. I think you've got to keep coaches related to those two things. I would almost say 100% guaranteed you got to clean house when it comes to the offensive side of the game. I don't think Brett Boone should be back. Nothing against Booney. I'm not by any means out for guys to lose their jobs. I don't cheer for that really actively, but I do call it like it is. I don't think Brett Boone and what he accomplished or didn't accomplish this season, I don't think he needs to be retained. I think you need a new voice and a new vision. And I wonder what Skip Schumaker has up his sleeve. We know that Skip is really good with developing young talent. I am hopeful that the Rangers can retool the coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball. You just have to have some fresh voices and fresh faces. I think you've got a lot of people, a lot of players, let's be specific, a lot of players that started getting a little comfortable. Let's just say that. They started getting a little too comfortable with what was going on in the clubhouse, with the culture last year, and it wasn't great. And I think the best way to do that, you've already gone with the new manager. I think you've got to have new voices in the area that you struggled the most in 2025. That to me seems very obvious, not rocket science, not some mythical take that nobody else has. I'm sure a lot of Rangers fans feel this way too. I would be shocked if I was alone in this opinion. I don't understand how you can have one of the worst offenses in baseball and run it back with all of these same coaches along with, a different manager. It's kind of nonsensical to me when you say it out loud. We'll see what the Rangers decide to do. I'm sure you're going to continue to hear more and more news coming down the pike on this, but you definitely got to keep Mike Maddox. I think you've got to keep some of the guys. Think like Corey Ragsdale, who, helped Jake Berger become an average to above average first baseman. I know Jake Berger did not have a great offensive year, but some of the defensive coaches, guys that are specifically working the defensive positions, I think did just such an outstanding job. I don't know how you can't bring all those guys back. Jamie, appreciate the gift. Maggie, if you're still watching, appreciate the gift too. We are going to talk a little bit. IDK, what's good? The only reason they ever won a World Series was because of their manager. Hard disagree on that. I really feel like that's such a catch-22. Hear me out on this. I'm not saying Bochy doesn't deserve any credit, but it's really an interesting argument to me. Some people will exclusively give Bruce Bochy credit for 2023, right? But he gets no blame for 2025 or 2024, right? That's how we're playing this, yeah? Because that's all I hear from the people that go back and say, yeah, Bruce Bochy's the only reason, or Bruce Bochy's the main reason we won in 2023. Look, I'm not saying that you're wrong on that, but if you're not going to assume that Bruce Bochy needs some blame for 24 and 25, I don't get that argument at all. You can't have it both ways. He can't be the reason we won the World Series, but have zero effect over why we sucked in 24 and 25. So I guess I got to hear more perspective from you, my guy, but it doesn't make any sense to me to say he's the only reason we won in 23. But yeah, he's a great manager. It wasn't his fault 24-25. I think Bruce Bochy's a Hall of Fame manager, first ballot, deserves a lot of praise. And he deserves a lot of admiration, a lot of compliments for what he did for 2023. But let's not forget, he's not the one swinging the bat, and he's not the one pitching. He's definitely in the clubhouse. He's definitely making decisions that are impactful. but we can't blame Bruce Bochy. And let me rephrase, we can't give Bruce all the credit for 23 and then give him none of the blame for 24 and 25. I think we've got to have a balance. Have to have a balance there. Keep on going. I'm going to talk about the pitcher that we signed in just a little bit. Hey, appreciate all the gifts. Jamie, you're on fire, baby. Thank you so much. Thank you for the GGs. Scott, thank you, man. I mean, look, I know that some people are going to take this as Bochy hate. We're not hating on Boch. We're really not. I think you just have to think about this logically. If you're going to give him all the praise for 23, you can't not give the guy any blame for 24 or 25. He definitely has a great track record with winning. We're not saying he doesn't. We're not saying that he doesn't have a Hall of Fame resume. But it is funny to me when people absolve Bruce Bochy for 24 and 25, but then want to give him all the praise for 23 and not really give it to anybody else. Bruce was a big reason we won in 23, just like Corey Seager was a huge reason we won in 2023. I mean, just like Nate Eovaldi was a huge reason we won in 2023. I just don't think you can have it both ways. Now, let's talk a little bit about our new signing. And by the way, the Rangers love them some Tommy John surgery pitchers, don't they? Because the Rangers just signed 6'4" right-handed reliever Declan Cronin to a 2-year minor league deal. And this was just yesterday, I believe. He's going to miss the entire 2026 season after undergoing Tommy John surgery in September. So just last month. And they are going to be focusing on him being bullpen depth potentially in 2027. So this is kind of a long-term play here. It's kind of a long-term play. So we look at the numbers for Declan Cronin. He was a guy that was drafted by the White Sox in the 36th round. He was the 1,070th pick in the 2019 draft. So this is a guy that's been around the block a little bit, right? Look, in 2024, pitched for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a 4.15 ERA in 3 games. He didn't pitch very much. Before that, in 2023 in the minor leagues, he was a 47-game appearance guy, 3.83 ERA. This guy really hasn't had a dominant season in the minors since his first year back in 2019 when he posted a 2.88 ERA and 5 holds. This is not a guy that has started very much in the minor leagues. This is a true bullpen guy at this point. And I think that the Rangers are thinking after the Tommy John surgery, he may provide some depth for the club, but probably not until 2027. He's got, roughly about 77 games under his belt in AAA. So this is a guy that I'm sure is going to go to Round Rock when he is healthy. Maybe they'll start him in AA for a few games here and there. But that is Declan Cronin for you. Declan Cronin. Righty, by the way, if we didn't say that already. Right-handed, relief pitcher, maybe 2027 depth. All right, appreciate the follows, by the way. And keep on posting those comments. If I miss it, we'll see what happens. I'll try and get back to it. I definitely don't want to be ducking anybody on the show. You guys know I try to be better than that. But if I miss it, keep on posting. We'll get to it. Let's stop for a second and let's do a little scoreboard peek in here. I got to be honest. I'm following casually at this point. When the ALCS and NLCS hit, I start watching a little bit more. But I'm watching a little casually right now. I watched some of the Blue Jays-Yankees game last night. Blue Jays, by the way, are ahead 2-1 right now. Top of the 7th inning. Phillies-Dodgers just kicked off. Let's see. They've got top of the first 0-0. Tigers evened up the series 2-2. And we have Milwaukee with a 2-1 lead. Right now, I'd love to see Phillies win tonight. I'd love to see the Phillies make this a series. I want to see the Yankees tie it up at 2-2. I want to see all of these series go 2-2. Like I said, the more baseball, the better at this point. And then we go into the ALCS and the NLCS. That's the plan. 1053 said Skip will probably be a rebuild manager for the Rangers next season. Well, there is a long runway with Skip. He was signed through 2029. This is a 4-year deal. So you hope that it's not going to get to that, but it very well could. Skip could be a guy that leads a rebuild maybe in a couple of years. I think for the next 2 years, the Rangers are going to be competitive. When I say competitive, no, I'm not saying World Series champions. I'm saying competitive. I think that the Rangers next year will try and put together a team that can make the playoffs. And I think they have a good shot to do it. I think Seattle is set up well to continue to be competitive, but with 3 wild card spots, I think that the Rangers have a shot to make it. I don't think there are a whole lot of juggernauts in the AL. I think Seattle is up there. I think Toronto, I mean, we'll see what happens next year with Toronto. They are going to have some turnover. I don't see a ton of juggernauts in the AL. I think when you have Evo and DeGrom, and maybe if you retool a little bit offensively too, I think the Rangers have a shot. I'm a little worried about the 2028 season. So I think 26 and I think 27 are still pretty competitive. I'm a little worried about 28. I think 2 more years of pretty competitive, chance to make October. I'm really worried about that 3rd year when Evo and DeGrom are starting to get up there in age, and Corey Seager's a couple of years older, and Marcus Semion's a couple of years older. By the way, Marcus Semien, I know his name's been thrown around a little bit as a guy maybe the Rangers are trying to move off of. I'll believe it when I see it with Semien. I just think that contract is way too prohibitive. I can't see a lot of teams being super interested in Marcus Semien. You would have to give whatever team is going to take him off of your hands, you'd have to give them a top prospect. I mean, I don't know how top, maybe top 10, maybe top 15. Do the Rangers really want to do that? I mean, you got gutted in the Merrill Kelly trade. You lost 3 of your top 15 prospects in the Merrill Kelly trade. Are you really trying to lose more top 15 prospects to offload the Marcus Semien contract? I would say probably no. I don't know how smart a business that is, and I know some people might fire back. I don't know how smart it is to keep playing Marcus Semien at second base when he's regressing. And I think it is fair to say Marcus has regressed since 2023 when he was a top 3 MVP candidate in the AL. It's crazy. Some of the fall-offs that some of these Rangers players have had since 23 is wild. I know that's an overused word these days, but it is. It's wild. I think Marcus probably ends up staying. I would be shocked if the Rangers find a suitor, find somebody that's willing to take that contract off their hands. And look, if you're not going to give up a prospect to trade Marcus Semien and have a team take on that salary, you're going to trade him and eat a bunch yourself. I just don't know if that is going to be likely. We'll see. And look, that's a good segue. Let's talk a little bit about some trade rumors. This was from a Cardinals account that I follow. I believe, and I want to get this right. Let me see if I can pull off the name before I just start spouting off here. But it was I think STL Cards Alerts or something like that. I'll try and get it right. They posted a Sports Illustrated article, and the Sports Illustrated article essentially named the Rangers as a top suitor for Sonny Gray in terms of trade talks this offseason. The Cardinals are in an interesting position. It looks like Nolan Arenado very well may get traded. It looks like the Cardinals are also trying to shop several other important players. And Sonny Gray was listed in this SI article as a very good fit for Texas. And I think that the article makes some good points, and I didn't even read the entire thing. I just kind of read the first paragraph and the headline. But when you think about it, the Rangers right now are not in a great spot to go out and spend buku bucks on a starting pitcher. They're not. They're not in a position where you're going to give another starting pitcher $25 million, $30 million. It makes a lot of sense to go out and get a guy like Sonny Gray in a trade. Now, here's the angle, though. We just talked about the Rangers farm system. You don't really want to give up a whole lot more top 15, top 20, top 25 prospects. So what do? I think the obvious choice is to trade some of the guys right now that are considered depth. Think about a guy like Josh Smith. Think about a guy like Ezekiel Duran. Think about maybe, and I don't want to say this guy's name because I want to see this guy be a Ranger for a long time, but you think even about a guy like maybe Cody Freeman. Guys that don't necessarily have a great path to consistent playing time as of right now. Cody Freeman might. It depends on, I think, his offseason and what he does in spring. But if the Rangers are going to go out and get a guy in a trade, you've got to think they're going to try and trade some of this MLB ready talent that they have in surplus at different positions. I don't think the Rangers are going to be super willing to trade a top 10 prospect at this point, even a top 15 prospect. You just lost 3 of them for nothing in the Merrill Kelly trade. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me to go out and trade away 2 or 3 more to go get a Sonny Gray or an Adley Rutschman. I think whatever path the Rangers take in trade talks, it's going to involve guys who are on the major league roster right now, guys that would be maybe considered a bit of surplus at different positions. Again, think Josh Smith, think Zeke Duran. I think some of these guys are going to be on the block if the Rangers are, in fact, trying to go out and trade for bigger name players. Again, Adley Rutschman, Baltimore Orioles catcher. Sonny Gray, starting pitcher, number 1, number 2 type starter from the Cardinals. We'll see what happens. But I don't see a path where the Rangers make a lot of trades involving any more top prospects. I mean, you never say never, but that would seem a little nonsensical to me. You just lost 3 of them. You just lost 3 top prospects in the Merrill Kelly trade. I don't see the Rangers going out and free dealing out a bunch more of their top prospects for guys on the trade market. I think if they do trades, they are going to try and get rid of some of the guys that are on the MLB roster right now. What about bats? Well, I mean, we threw out Adley Rutschman. Adolis, user 617. I think Adolis is going to be an interesting one. I think the Rangers are definitely going to move on from him. I don't think that's a question. I think they probably end up trading him or non-tendering him. I think you could probably trade Adolis and at least, at bare minimum, get cash considerations, which I'm sure the Rangers would be happy to get as they are cutting payroll. But you could maybe get like a low-level prospect. I don't think you're going to get a ton for Adolis. Now, could he be a throw-in in an Adley Rutschman trade? Could he be a throw-in in maybe a trade for Sonny Gray? Potentially. But it all depends on what teams like the Cardinals and the Orioles are prioritizing. It feels like the Orioles may be willing to do something like an Adolis Garcia trade because you think that they would feel somewhat confident they could rebound in 2025. I don't think the Orioles are 26, excuse me. I don't think the Orioles are in that bad of a spot where they couldn't bounce back next year. They kind of got off to a bad start in 2025. It wouldn't shock me to see a team like the Orioles rebound. So a team like the Cardinals, though, I feel like the Cardinals are a little bit more lost right now. I don't see a team like the Cardinals being very interested in Adolis Garcia. So I think Dolly is going to be a guy whose value is going to be very team dependent, meaning it's all going to depend on the team that you're potentially trading him to and what position they're in. The only teams that are going to be taking Adolis Garcia in as kind of a throw-in piece are teams that are actually looking to be competitive in 2026. And I would say if you're not going to deal Adolis to one of those teams, you're looking at getting maybe a low-level prospect for him or cash considerations, or maybe both. I'm very curious to see what Adolis Garcia gets for the Rangers in the trade market. I can't see them just non-tendering him. I think he has enough value. Somebody's going to be willing to give you something for him. I would be really surprised if not. Brad, what's good, man? Good to see you. New York, that could be an option. New York could be an option. I don't think they're going to cut Jock. I would be very surprised if they cut Jock. Very, very surprised. Hey, what's good to everybody on YouTube? Good to see y'all hanging out. Thank you so much. Eshawn, appreciate you. I do think Marcus Semien probably stays. TLC, I don't know if he's still hanging out, but I know you commented a while back, but I appreciate the comment, man. Thank you. Look, keep on throwing them my way. I will definitely keep bouncing around a little bit between YouTube and TikTok, checking things out. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Oh, whoops, forgot to hit the go live button on Instagram. Oh, well, we'll get those guys in here in a second. Seattle versus Brewers in the World Series? Possible. Then you're absolutely determined to get somebody win the World Series for the first time. Seattle and Milwaukee look very, very good. User 617, I see Semien staying as well. I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. I would be shocked if they can find a team that's willing to take on that contract. It would be really, really surprising to me. All right, let's keep things rolling. We talked about the Rangers' new acquisition, Declan Cronin. We have talked a little bit about this already, but just to review, the ownership, of course, led by Ray Davis, is committed to contending in 2026. That's on the record. But they have confirmed the payroll will decrease from $224 million in 2025 and stay under the CBT threshold, the competitive balance tax threshold, to avoid penalties. And look, Chris Young, he emphasized a pretty big philosophy shift. I think this is stuff that we've all been wanting the Rangers to do. And finally, I think now that you got an off season, you're going to see the Rangers do it. But Chris Young talked a lot about getting creative with next year's roster, right? Getting guys that can have good situational approaches, guys that can execute well in those situations, basically guys that can put the ball in play and play some small ball. And that is something that all Rangers fans wish that the club did better and did more of in 2025. Although I think we did kind of resign ourselves at some point. I just don't know if the players the Rangers had in 2025 could play small ball. You and I would get frustrated. Why aren't they bunting? Why aren't they taking a better approach at just putting the ball in play here, hitting a ground ball right side, lofting a ball to deep outfield when you got a runner on third? I just don't know if the Rangers had guys that could really execute it. It is why they lost a lot of games. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with that comment anymore. And so, look, I think on the fly, I think a lot of what CY is saying in the post season or in the exit interview, press conferences, if you will, is stuff that you and I were saying all season. But I do agree with him in that it's really hard to have this big fundamental shift of strategy and philosophy in the middle of a season. Now, my rebuttal to that would be, why didn't we go into 2025 with that mentality? Why did we try to run it back with the same guys again in 2025? I think the Rangers were really, really hoping to get a lot more bounce back out of some of their key players, and it just didn't happen. But I would have loved CY to be giving this kind of presser after 2024. Look, that did not work, guys. In 2025, we got to do something different. We got to change the approaches. Instead, he decided to kind of run it back. And this is what you got. You got one of the worst offenses in baseball in 2025. Josh Young staying or leaving? Josh Young is another interesting one. I don't think you're trading Josh Young unless it's some kind of marquee trade. Like, for example, I could see the Rangers maybe dealing Josh Young in an Adley Rutschman trade. I think it's got to be a bigger name like Adley Rutschman. And I know Adley had a down year. That doesn't mean that you're going to get him for peanuts. I could see the Rangers trading Josh Young for the right guy. And it would have to be for a bigger name guy. I don't think you're going to trade Josh Young just to get a couple of prospects. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I do think that if the right guy becomes available in the trade market, you're talking about an all-star level type player or a player with all-star potential. I do think Josh Young might be expendable. I don't think that he is going to be a guy that's untouchable. I do think that the Rangers would love Josh Young to figure it out, but they're going to be asking Josh Young, according to CY, and a lot of players to really work on a lot of different things this offseason. And with Josh Young, the biggest thing I think a lot of us noticed with him, the swing never changed with Josh. It didn't matter if there were no strikes or two strikes. Josh Young was trying to rip one out of the ballpark every single time with that long swing, that big old hack. It didn't matter if he had a full count or if it was 3-0, 2-0. Dude was giving you that long, monstrous swing, trying to hit a home run, and he didn't do it very much. He had a few big bombs. We can remember a couple of walk-offs that Josh Young had in the 2025 season, but Josh Young's got to retool. He has got to figure out how to be a better situational hitter. He's one of the worst on the team right now, and I don't think that is a hot take or not factual. Look, I cheer for all these guys to succeed, but you got to call a spade sometime. I love Josh Young, Texas boy. You heard me say this line if you've been a longtime listener. San Antonio born, right? Texas Tech University. Dude, love the guy. Would love for him to succeed, but you can't sugarcoat this. He was one of the worst situational hitters on the Rangers in 2025. I would love to see Josh Young retool the swing, retool the approach, and come back a more complete hitter in 2026. Now, Josh Young, when he was asked in season to make changes, it was a bit of a, I don't know what the best way to put it is. It was a bit of a struggle. Josh Young, I don't know, was completely bought in to some of the changes that the Rangers wanted him to make, and that came from Jeff Wilson, DLLS podcast. He reported that. Josh Young in the media was a little salty at times when he was getting asked about things that he was being asked to work on in the minors. I'm very curious what happens with Josh. And it was the same thing with Jonah too. You're right, 617. You're right about that. It was the same thing with Jonah too. They were wanting Jonah to make changes. And look, in the offseason last year, apparently Jonah was in the lab a ton. I mean, look, how I can feel for Jonah Heim. How frustrating is that? You work your butt off in the offseason trying to make adjustments, and you still come back and pretty much do the same exact thing you did in 2024. And that's a big reason why the Rangers are probably going to be moving on from Jonah Heim. Jonah Heim was very frustrating. I totally agree with you in 2024 and in 2025. The bat was not there. And look, he's a guy that drove in 95 RBI for you in 23. And the bat just was non-existent the last two seasons. And then the defense fell off a cliff too. It was like a double whammy. You were thinking, well, at least you have great defense from Jonah. That was pretty bad over the last two seasons too. And you do feel like some of the body language hustle stuff was there as well. I do think they are going to let Heim walk. 6, thanks for the comment. I don't think they're going to extend Higgy, but I do think that Higgy is going to be a guy that they rely on as a secondary player in 2026. I don't think Higgy is a starting catcher in this league. I think he can swing the bat a little bit. I don't think he's a great defensive catcher. In fact, he's going to become much less valuable defensively. Higgy's big thing is framing. And with ABS challenge system coming into play, framers are going to become a lot less useful and important. You're going to need a guy that can do more than frame, that can block, that can also control the base runners. And Higgy doesn't do either one of those particularly well in comparison to his peers. So I think Higgy's going to be a good secondary player. I don't see Higgy being primary starter or even a 50-50 piece. We'll see what happens. We keep going. Josh Young a little bit reminded me of past Ranger Pete Incaviglia. Man, that's a throwback right there. I love that. That is a throwback. Yeah, look, I'd have to dig into it a little bit more. But 44, it's not a bad comp. It honestly isn't. And I bet when you look at some of their seasons, you'll probably see that too. But it's not a bad comp. Really isn't. Rangers win one World Series and want to be picky about who joins the team. I mean, I don't know what diehard fan isn't going to be a little picky about stuff like that, Chris. But it's good to see you, my guy. What else we got? Pudge as a hitting coach? That would be interesting. 6, that would be interesting. Higgy disrespect will not be tolerated. I mean, was I really disrespecting him? Or was I just telling you exactly how he's been rated by people that know the game much better than me? And again, Higgy, you look at Baseball Savant, you look at his numbers, one of the worst pop times in the league, one of the worst at blocking different pitches in the league, one of the worst at controlling base runners. I'm not just saying this off the top of my head as opinion. This is stuff that is easily researchable. So I don't know if it's disrespect. It's more just calling it like it is. I know sometimes when you say things out loud, it comes off a little mean, but we're not here to sugarcoat everything. You got to call it like you see it. And what I'm seeing on Higgy's advanced stats is a whole lot of deep blue, which is not good if you've ever spent any time on Baseball Savant. Pudge as new catching coach would be fire. That would be straight fire. If Pudge comes out of retirement and becomes our new catching coach or hitting coach, I would take him as a hitting coach. Great. I would be over the moon. That would be phenomenal. I am really hoping 44 that Mike Maddox stays as well. I think that would be huge. That would be huge. I think user 617, I do think when you had Heim to compare to, Higgy did definitely seem better. I would say, though, we can't look at it with rose-colored glasses. Higgy took until July to get going. Higgy was pretty bad from March to late June. July, something clicked and he took off and he had a pretty good 2-month stretch, but he was pretty bad in March, April, May, and in June. And look, for me, Higgy is not good enough behind the dish to make a primary catcher. I think that would be a mistake. I think you would be seeing a lot of the same frustrating things that you saw this past season with a lot of base runner stealing. I'm all for keeping Higgy and still utilizing him in different spots, but I don't want Higgy to be every other day guy. I don't want Higgy to be primary catcher. At this point, I want him to be a guy that plays maybe around 33 to 40% of all games. Maybe he's a guy you bring in as a pinch hitter at the end of games here and there. Not a guy that I really want to be a primary catcher at this point. If you guys feel differently, we can agree to disagree. I don't think there's a whole lot of evidence to suggest that Higgy should be a primary catcher at this point. Can you see Bochy with the Yankees? I don't think so. I think Boch is going to either do the senior advisor role with the Rangers or he's going to do something with the Giants. I would be surprised if he takes a brand new managerial position somewhere else. But if Aaron Boone did get fired, I'm sure Boch is going to listen to teams giving him a call. But I just kind of wonder, he's getting into he's in his early 70s. I don't know how much more he wants to do the grind of a 162-game season. He's got grandkids. He's got family. I mean, I just don't know where Boch is at with wanting to continue to do the MLB season grind. We'll see. My guess would be he's going to do some kind of advisory role. Still be a part of the game, still be involved in the game, but not be a guy that's getting on red-eye flights, man. Look, you got to give Bochy props. I can tell you this. I'm not in Bochy's shoes. I'm not. But at 71, 72 years old, if I could be doing what Bruce Bochy is doing, I mean, wow. I don't know if right now I can see myself, and I'm in my mid-30s right now. I don't know if I can see myself doing what he's doing. I don't know if I would want to be doing that at 71 years old. I think I'd probably want to have season tickets to the Rangers, have a couple of houses going back and forth between summer, winter. I hate the cold weather, so I would love to do the snowbird thing and have season tickets to Rangers games. That's the plan, man. That would be phenomenal. I don't think I want to be grinding a 162-game season, taking red eyes all over the country. I mean, look, maybe when I get there, I'll feel differently. I don't know. But my goodness, I think what that man accomplished, managing the Rangers with as many years of wisdom as he has, I just give him a lot of respect and props. I really do. 6, I do think he's going to get traded. I don't think he's probably going to be non-tendered or just straight up released. I think he's probably going to get traded. Let's see. Brad agreed on Higgy. Okay. Adolis, I don't think is coming back, 6. I really don't. I would be really surprised if Adolis comes back and is the Rangers opening day right fielder in 2026. That would absolutely shock me. 100% would shock me. 44, let's go. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for all of the comments, man. You know how grateful I am for your support of the show. Seriously. Chris, you saw where Maddox is staying on. I didn't get that report, but it wouldn't surprise me if he is. I think you've got to do whatever you can to retain Mike Maddox. You really do. Have to do whatever you can. Seriously. We will see what happens. I think any coach that is connected in any way to either pitching or defense needs to stay. Any coach that was connected to the offensive hitting side of the game, I think you may need to rethink. And look, I don't want guys to lose their jobs, but this is a business. It's tough. And I think if you're going to move on from Bruce Bochy, you got to move on from the biggest issue on the team over the last 2 years, which was hitting, offense. I don't know. I feel like it's weird to move on from Boch, but bring back and run it back with all of your offensive coaches. Feels just wrong. Nonsensical. We need DH and back-end rotation, develop the little rascals. I think they're going to run it back with Jock 6. I really do. I think they're going to run it back with Jock Peterson. Now, are they going to potentially have a much shorter leash for Jock? Yes. I don't think they're going to put up with 2 months of suck from Jock Peterson out the gate in 2026. I would love to see them proactively go out and potentially identify a replacement for Jock Peterson, a guy that could take his spot if he continues to not hit consistently. I would love to see the Rangers have a backup plan. Don't go into 2026 Jock or bust. I do not want to see that happen. That's the last thing I'd like the Rangers to do. I think that they have to have a plan B in mind. Whatever it is, you got to have one. You cannot hope and pray and count on Jock Peterson rebounding. You hope it happens. I would love to see it happen. I am not sitting back and chilling and just totally good with Jock's going to figure it out. I'm going out and I'm trying to exhaust all different options when it comes to what if Jock Peterson is still struggling in 2026. Pete Alonso would be great. I don't think they're going to bring Lowe back. 6, I would be shocked. Sam Huff is not in our system anymore either. No Sam Huff. I think he went to the Giants. And didn't he have like a big hit against us earlier this season too? I'm pretty sure he did. It was like probably the highlight of his season, if I had to guess. Sam Huff. Yeah, he's not in the organization anymore. Derek, what's good, man? Thank you for the comment. Any specific free agent? Look, if money is not in any kind of objection, I'd love to see Kyle Schwarber. I know he's having a bit of a tough postseason. I'd love to see Kyle Schwarber. Absolutely would love to see it. I think that's the alpha presence that the Rangers need in the clubhouse. I'd love to see a guy like him. I think Kyle Tucker is probably going to be too expensive for Texas. I'd love to see Kyle Schwarber get signed by the Rangers. I think that'd be a perfect fit. And then at that point, Jock might be a guy that you're potentially trying to move on from. I don't think that the fact that the Rangers have Jock Peterson should be a reason you don't go after Kyle Schwarber. Jock is basically one more year left. I think you can work out something with Jock Peterson if Kyle Schwarber did want to sign with the Rangers. Otherwise, free agents in starting pitching. We went through a number of free agent starting pitchers. I'll do it again with you guys right now and just give you the notables. But there's a couple of names like, Jack Flaherty. He's probably one of the bigger names, I would think, coming out. He is, I think, 29 still, pretty young guy. You've got a couple other guys who are going to be unrestricted free agents as well. Let me pull up Spotrac here, and I will get you guys the fresh list of free agent starting pitchers. But I don't think the Rangers are going to be big players in the top-tier starting pitching market. I think they're going to seek to improve through trade. Maybe they'll try and retain Malley. I think if you're talking about in-house guys, you'd love to see them think about a guy like Malley. There's a few other names, though. I mean, I'll run through the ones that I'd be interested in. but there's not a lot. There's Tyler Mahle. That's probably one of the bigger ones. Ranger Suarez. That's another big one. He's only 30 years old. Dylan Cease is another one. Zach Gallen is another. Look, this is a name that I've thrown out there. I know he's kind of the enemy, pitching for Houston as long as he did, but Justin Verlander had a really good finish to his 2025. You wonder if that's a guy that maybe the Rangers, but definitely other teams might be interested in. Framber Valdez. I think those are probably the biggest ones. The third baseman, is it like Murakami or something like that? I don't know. I don't want to butcher it, but let me see. Murakami. I think I got it. Yeah, I think he is going to be a free agent in the offseason, right? I don't know. There's going to be a lot of teams interested in him. A lot of teams. But he is still expected to be posted this offseason. Let's see. I'm reading this article from June 26th. And I'm going to see if there's any teams or any reporting initially. There's nothing on this. I mean, look, you know the big players are going to be involved with Murakami, one of the top Japanese players over on the other side of the world. I think the Rangers, they have definitely thrown their name into the hat when it comes to players from the NPB, from the Japanese league, but it hasn't always worked out. They got Yu Darvish. They missed out on Shohei. They missed out on Roki Sasaki. It would be interesting if the Rangers are going to be players in the Murakami sweepstakes, but you know the Dodgers probably will be in that mix. You know the Yankees will be in that mix. It's going to be tough. Benjamin, right back at you, my guy. Loves you too. Who from the Little Rascals or someone from the minors has a shot to make the roster? I think Cody Freeman has a really good shot. He can play multiple positions. I'm really not knowing exactly what to do with Mike Hellman. I know a lot of people really like Mike Hellman, and I think he had a great finish, a great stretch, especially over that 16-4 run that the Rangers went on before they absolutely soiled the bed in Houston. I don't know if Mike Hellman is going to be a guy that gets a solid roster spot or not. I know some of you might be saying, are you kidding me? He was actually one of our better players down the stretch. I just don't know. I think it's going to depend on who the Rangers get in free agency. I personally am a little bit on the fence whether or not Mike Hellman needs to be a guy that's taken up a roster spot or not. You figure Ezekiel Duran, you figure Josh Smith, you figure Cody Freeman. Yeah, you could definitely see a guy like Mike Hellman making the club. I don't know if any of those guys are going to be starters, and I would probably say at this point, I don't really want Mike Hellman starting. I don't really want Ezekiel Duran or Josh Smith starting. I don't really want to have Cody Freeman starting. I don't know if any of those guys are bona fide starters. You might have to just by nature of the players that you have or don't have, but I don't know if any of those guys are 162 game starters at this point. I don't. We'll see what happens with who they bring in, both in free agency and through trades. But I think Hellman, Freeman, Duran, Smith, I think those guys are good depth, but I don't know if they're guys you want starting 150-plus games. We'll see. Is Pete Alonso a free agent? Yes, he is. How do I feel about Luis Arraez? He doesn't strike out and hits for average and should be on the cheaper side. Derek, I am very curious what Luis Arraez is going to command in free agency. Look, I went back and forth a little bit. I'd love to pull up my tweets. I don't think Ethan is hanging out with us tonight on YouTube. Ethan's a big Luis Arraez fan, and we went back and forth just a couple of times. Luis Arraez has a lower WAR than some Rangers players this year that you'd be just shocked to hear about. I think Josh Young had a higher WAR than Luis Arraez did. Like, I know WAR isn't everything, and I'm not a guy that's like, WAR is the end-all, be-all. But Luis Arraez is not a guy that's adding a ton of offensive value. I think he kind of guises offensive production a little bit. And I know he puts the ball in play and doesn't strike out. Over the last 2 seasons, he's not a guy that has really provided a lot of offensive production boost to a lineup. I'm not saying you don't go after him. I'm not saying that I don't want him on the team. It depends on the price. I think Luis Arraez is going for a payday. He's won batting titles. He's won multiple of them. He is one of the guys, I think he probably strikes out the least in Major League Baseball. I'm not saying I wouldn't love to have a hitter like that, but do you want to overpay for basically a slap singles hitter? And that's how I feel about Luis Arraez. So, Derek, if you could get Luis on the cheap, yes, I think I'd be very interested. If you're paying him 20 to 25 million, I think you might need to pass on that one. I'd love Maddox to come back, Natalie, 100%. I know I'm not an Astros fan, but I think Alonso would have been a better fit than Christian Walker. Yeah, I think a lot of Astros fans were very disappointed with what they got out of Christian Walker. I think they were very disappointed. Alonso definitely would have been a better fit. I'd love for Pete to come to Arlington, man. That would be great to have a guy like him. There's another alpha, right? We talked about Kyle Schwarber. There's another alpha, Pete Alonso. Just showing, what are we talking about? Just Rangers and just off-season plans, players we'd like to see him go get, just that kind of stuff. Patrick, what's good, man? Good to see you. Marcus getting hate, don't know why. I think Marcus, in his comments that he came out with at the end of the year, talking about, guys who aren't hungry, and Marcus kind of saying, look, I don't control who's in the clubhouse. I think some people kind of took that as like, bro, why are you waiting until it's over to come out and say this stuff? Like, we could have used this like a couple of months ago. I don't know. I think it kind of came across as a little bit of sour grapes, kind of a little bit of a weird time for Marcus to come out with something like that after being relatively quiet for most of the season. I think Marcus obviously has had a couple two bad years, right? Underperforming years. So I think that's why he is getting some flack. I still think Marcus Semien can be a solid baseball player for you in 2026. He's going to play a great second base. He's going to provide some natural leadership. You would just like to see him, look, at least be a 250, 260 hitter. And let's have that OBP up above 350. Like, we cannot do this low 300s, low 200s for the OBP and the batting average. No, can't do it again. So you're just hoping Marcus Semien can just be an average hitter for you. I don't think Semien is a guy that needs to hit up at the top of the order anymore. I think he's a guy that needs to be middle of the order to potentially lower in the order. I just don't know if he's that guy anymore. Maybe he has a killer offseason and he comes out with his hair on fire and he becomes that heart of the order, top of the order player once again. But I think Marcus Semien at this point might be that bottom of the order guy who still can contribute, who still has value. But I just don't know if you want to go into 2026 with the plan of, let's feature Marcus Semien as a premier RBI guy. I don't know if I'm down for that. Not sure if that's going to work. 8-hole user 617, that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Hit him 6th, hit him 7th, hit him 8th, something like that. I think you've got to potentially strongly consider moving him down. Further into his contract, Seager makes the switch to first. Sergio, appreciate the comment. I think it's on the table, but honestly, y'all, I think he is going to have a couple more good years at shortstop. I do think down the road, you're talking year 7, year 8, year 9. I think you could potentially see a move like that. I think Corey Seager, when healthy, is one of the better defensive shortstops in the game. He's got a good arm. He's got surprising range for how big he is. And, he's not the fastest guy out there. But I think Corey Seager is a guy you want playing shortstop for you. I think we saw down the stretch, Corey, his defense was missed. We thought Josh Smith, we thought Ezekiel Duran were pretty good defenders. I think you started realizing just how valuable Corey Seager is with the glove when you watch Josh Smith and Zeke kind of boot the ball around a little bit, not turn double plays as smoothly, that kind of thing. I think Corey Seager is very underrated as a defender. I do think, though, down the line, he gets into his mid-30s. He gets, a little bit past that point. I think he does maybe potentially make a move to more of a full-time DH. Maybe first base. He's definitely tall enough, and he's probably a good enough fielder with a good enough glove to transition. But I think he's going to play at least 2 or 3 more years at shortstop. I think that is definitely going to happen. All right, y'all, look, let's do a quick check of the scores. We've got 5-1 Blue Jays. The Yankees are on the brink. They're on the brink right now. Phillies-Dodgers is still tied at 0, bottom of the third. Yankee season is about 6 outs away from being finished. They're going to have to rally from a 4-run deficit, and the Blue Jays are still threatening first and second with 1 out in the top Blue Jays. Cubs won today to make it a 2-1 deficit. They were facing elimination, and then you had Detroit winning to stave off elimination as well. That series is tied 2-2, and that will be, looks like, played on the 10th, which is Friday night. The Dodgers and the Phillies, and then the Brewers and the Cubs play tomorrow. And look, we'll see what shakes out for the ALCS and for the NLCS. I'm excited, but we're gonna go watch that next here. Cody, what's up, man? Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Means a lot, brother. Best of luck in the offseason, baby. Thank you. Go Rangers. Since the younger days too, huh? Man, I read your comment a little too quick. That's awesome, brother. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Great season, great start. Hopefully you got a great future. All right, let's check comments a little bit more, and then we're going to get out of here for the night. Just catching up, any Rangers news? Look, we talked a little bit about Bobby Wilson, and obviously Bobby Wilson's real good people, but you got a new coach coming on. We're going to see what happens here. Cody, how you feeling about Skip? I don't know how you couldn't be excited. I think Skip, manager of the year. I don't know how you couldn't be excited about that. He seems like a great guy, and it's not candy getting handed out, manager of the year, man. You got to be pretty special to accomplish that. And look, just speaking real, Cody, I know you probably got to be careful, but look, the Marlins, you take the Marlins to the playoffs, the Marlins, with all of the ups and downs that organization has had, you take the Marlins to the playoffs, that's pretty special, right? I'm not trying to hate on the Marlins. I'm really not. Look, Marlins have won a couple World Series, but they have had some tumultuous years. You take the Marlins to the playoffs, you're pretty solid, man. I think that Skip is going to do some special things. I really do. We're pumped. That's great. That's great. I can't imagine how you wouldn't be. Cody, what's the biggest offseason plan for you, man? What are you trying to get better at the most? What are you going to be working on the most this offseason, man? What's your focus? Would love to hear that from you, brother. Thank you so much for the comments, man. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate you. Let's see. Read some crazy opinions on Lodestar Baseball about retaining Hyman Garcia for deals. Couldn't believe my eyes. It's going to be really interesting what the Rangers do with some of the players that are in our years. We know it's a business. Look, we don't wish ill will on anybody, but we know there probably are going to be some changes. There probably are going to be some changes. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely am very curious. I don't think you're going to see a lot before the end of the postseason, but it's tough. So many of these guys are so special to the Rangers franchise. Jonah Heim, I know he had a tough year this year. I know Adolis had a tough year at times, but we definitely will always love these guys. They're Rangers legends for winning the World Series. They are. I mean, look, you can't take that away from them, and each one of them have accomplished things in this game that a lot of people haven't. Jonah Heim, Gold Glove, All-Star Game starter, Adolis Garcia. the Gold Gloves he's won, what he accomplished in 2023, most RBI in a postseason. You just can't take those things away. But we know it's a tough business sometimes. It is. We will see what shakes out. Think we should go after Adley Rutschman. Who do I want to win the World Series? Adley Rutschman, I think a lot of teams are going to be interested in him. I don't know how much the Rangers want to get in a bidding war with Adley and the other teams that are going to be potentially after him. And who knows if the Orioles are even going to want to trade him. I've thought to myself many times, do you really want to bail on a guy like Adley Rutschman with how good a promise he displayed in some of those first years? I mean, dude was in the home run derby recently. So I'm curious if the Orioles really are dead set, hell bent on trading a guy like that. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious if he's even going to be on the trade block ultimately. I think it's something that was talked about a lot at the end of this season, but it's one of those things like, are they really going to pull the trigger on that? I don't know. Cody says, better the bat. Dude, look, that's freaking awesome. I love some of the at-bats you had, brother. Quality ABs, it felt like every single time. And that is something that I know a lot of Rangers fans appreciate about you. Taking pitches, working, man, making the pitcher work out there. It's one of my favorite types of ball players, honestly. Choking up, doing what you got to do. The swing changes according to the situation. That's the kind of approach, honestly. And Cody, I'm not just saying this because you're hanging out. That's the kind of approach I'd love to see some other hitters take on. Now, look, let's be real. You got guys like Corey Seager. Bro, do your thing. Do your thing, right? But you'd love to see some of the young guys take that approach, right? Just take what the pitcher's given you, adjust according to the count. Right? You've got the information coming into ABs, what the pitcher likes to throw, but adjust your swing accordingly and make the pitcher work out there. You love guys that can make pitchers throw a lot early on, see a lot of pitches. I love those hard-nosed ABs. And I think if the Rangers can continue to get better and better in that department, 2026 is going to be a big turnaround. But I think it's going to take some changes, right? Some guys are going to have to make adjustments. It's going to be easier for some than others. We're creatures of habit, baseball players. Look, I was blessed to get to play ball a little bit. I've been very honest with you guys. By no means did I ever amount to anything super special as a ball player, but played a little small college ball and got to play in high school. And I love my memories with baseball. But look, it's definitely a creature of habit sport. And it's hard to get guys to adjust. It is. And then you think about things like what got these guys to the big leagues, right? And every single Ranger, they had that swing that they probably tweaked a little bit along the way, but look, they got to the big leagues for a reason, right? And so I'll say this, I'm sure there are going to be guys working on different things, and some of that's going to be personal, some of that's going to be handed down from front office, but it's tough. It's easier said than done. But these guys work hard. They really do. Cody Freeman is the future of the Rangers. I hope so. I surely hope so, man. Cody Freeman has been incredible to watch coming up in the minors. AAA season this year was fire. I got to watch a few games here and there. You guys know I live out in Vegas, and so I've seen the team come through here really the past probably 4 or 5 years. And Cody obviously spent a little time in AAA this year and was in AA. It's been fun watching him come up. And I think the season that Cody had this year was incredible. I'm a big fan. And Cody, I hope you've checked out some of the videos I've done. I'm a big Cody Freeman fan. Huge Cody Freeman fan. Wishing him nothing but the best. Love your takes, man. Keep it going. I'm trying. I don't get it right all the time. I really don't. I don't get it right all the time, but I have fun doing what I do, talking Rangers ball, hanging out with all you guys. I really do. You guys are a huge blessing to me. I thank you so much for all the support of the show. It means so much. and we are going to keep things rolling. We're going to be going all off season. Every Wednesday, we do our Ranger show, and we will put out videos here and there. We'll do emergency lives when necessary, especially if the Rangers make some big moves. I definitely am going to be here ready to talk it out with you guys. I mean, look, at its most base level, that's why I started this channel, to talk about stuff like this with y'all. Look, as much as my wife loves talking baseball, as much as I'm sure she loves talking baseball, she can only go so far. And so you guys are my outlet for baseball, and I appreciate that y'all have supported the show as much as you have. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun offseason. Do I think Mike Hellman will be starting? Tough. Depends on who they acquire. Loved what Mike Hellman did at the end of 2025. It's going to be hard. You got Evan Carter coming back. You've got other guys that are options in the outfield. We were talking about Cody Freeman. We're talking about Josh Smith. You've got a lot of options. It's going to be hard. Plus, you maybe acquire a guy in free agency or trade. I don't know. It is going to be really, really interesting. Question for Cody. What is it like during this time of year? Are you just on your own program now or have scheduled activities? I don't know if Cody's still hanging out with us. Cody, if you are, would love if you'd be up for answering a couple of questions from fans, man. But if you had to take off, no big deal. Totally understand. We'll see TLC if he hits us back. But I'm sure he's a busy guy. He said he's working on the bat a lot. He wants to better the bat this offseason. He said that's the big plan. Do I feel like the rush Alejandro Osuna call-up? No, I don't. I think Osuna looked like he belonged. That's another dude I love. I love Alejandro Osuna. Love that dude. Seriously. I think Osuna is a guy that absolutely could be called upon to fill that right field role. I think that's the stuff the Rangers are going to have to judge, though, right? Mike Hellman, great player, hard-nosed player, kind of similar feel for me like Cody Freeman, gives you good ABs, hustles. I love that. But you've got a guy like Alejandro Osuna, promising. I just don't know if you want to pass a guy like that up. There's going to be some competition this spring. That's part of the fun of it. It really is. There is going to be some competition this spring. That is for sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, y'all, that's about it for me. We've been going an hour and 15. Cody came and hung out with us for a while, so I went a little bit longer than I thought we were going to, which is awesome. I'm pumped that we had a couple of fun people stop by, man. That's freaking awesome. I couldn't be more humbled and blessed. Could not be more humbled and blessed by all the support. But look, we'll do this again on Wednesday. That's the plan. Next Wednesday. And I'll be live on Saturday and Sunday for Cowboys and also for Longhorns. Longhorns play the Sooners, Red River. We'll be live on Saturday. We'll be live on Sunday for Cowboys versus Panthers. And then we'll be back again on Wednesday. And we'll put out some videos in between. That's the plan. All right, y'all. You guys have a great rest of your night. Loved hanging out. And we'll see y'all soon. Hopefully you have a good Thursday, good Friday. Finish out the week on a good note. Heading into the weekend. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for the kind words. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Rangers.